fellow says, a sphere is the flattest shape that can naturally occur in the universe. Sphere is flat, okay. Here's my thought of the day. Okay, let's see what he's got. Suppose part of the universe contains two particles moving parallel in time towards the future. Okay, will they diverge in space-time without the presence of any external influence? If yes, such a space has hyperbolic curvature. Is this correct? See, these people want to talk about structure using motion. Okay, this is where the problem is. They say they want to talk about parallel, for example, by moving. And that's the version of religion of mathematical physics. That's not the version of science. Okay, so they're starting already on the wrong foot. So here's my answer to what this fellow raises. Okay, it is in the religion of mathematics, mathematical physics, where they determine that space-time is spherical by going around in circles. In physics, we point to a sphere. Therefore, we do not run an experiment to determine whether vacuum is hyperbolic, straight, or crooked. Instead, we define the keywords that make or break our arguments and theories. And here are the two keywords here. Space, that which has no shape. Nothing, vacuum are synonyms. Okay? And parallel. What is parallel? Equidistant surfaces. It's not equidistant itineraries, which is what this fellow is referring to. Parallel is an adjective for the purposes of physics, not ordinary speech, not mathematics, not religion, okay? In physics, parallel is an adjective. In physics, adjectives can only be used to qualify objects. Itineraries are not things, therefore it is irrational in physics to say that something is moving parallel to something else. Okay, that's ordinary speech, that is mathematics. Okay, so please learn the language. Learn the language because you're confusing language of ordinary speech and you're bringing it into science without even understanding it casually. You don't realize it. You got to analyze the words. Okay? We have a new language in this site, and unless you learn the language of physics, you're going to be introducing language of ordinary speech, especially the words exist, the word object, and in this case, motion, thinking that parallel has to do something with motion. They say parallel lines which are extended infinitely, they don't meet. So they say it's parallel, and they say, well, how do you know it's parallel? Well, go to infinity and find out if they meet. Come back when you finish getting to infinity. And so it's an open-ended definition. You can't use that definition in science. But the mathematicians, they don't know anything about definitions. So they define it like that, and they say, okay, that sounds all right to me, and that's what they use. No, in science, only physical objects can be said to be parallel. We're talking about the surfaces of those two objects, and they have to be equidistant throughout. If it meets that definition, they are parallel. You do not say, I'm going to travel along the surface and find out, if the two lines meet, the itineraries meet. And so that's why this hyperbolic nonsense that relativity brings up, that you either go around the universe in circles parallel without meeting the two lines, or if they diverge, then you have hyperbolic universe or whatever. That's nonsense. That's mathematics. They want to do it with equations. And what are equations? Equations are always itineraries. Okay, what they're talking about is motion. They're describing motion. They're not explaining anything with that. And they're not defining an object. When you want to talk about an object, you have to point to it. You point to what? A sphere, okay? And you say sphere. That's how it works. You point to a cube and you say cube. And so now the ET understands your language. He knows what a cube is. He knows what a sphere is. You don't say, let me round around the circle. Let me round around the cube and tell you whether it's straight, parallel, hyperbolic, or whatever. That's mathematics. That's the nonsense of mathematics. Okay, another fellow brings up the issue of my spoon falling, okay? And he says, look, there you see the spoon falling, okay? How do we explain that in science, especially in this site, under the rope model? Well, here it is. We're saying that this spoon is falling because every atom of the spoon is bound to every atom on the earth. And so we have a physical entity that is connecting the earth to every atom of the spoon. That's why the spoon doesn't go in the opposite direction towards the sky, because there's a lot more matter bound below it than there is above it. The closest object out there is the moon, and it's too far away to have any influence on that spoon. Okay? So that's how we explain it. So what does this fellow say? He says the following. He says, the spoon will fall if you let go of it since it's heavier. than the air which surrounds it. There's no need for space ropes. We ask them what physical object is in contact with a spoon. Here you have the spoon, okay? And it falls to the floor. It falls downwards. What physical object is pushing or pulling on the spoon? That's the question. And he says it's heavier. That's a concept. You have not explained what is in contact with the skin of the spoon. Okay, and another fellow, also another flat earther, he has the same thing. He says, get a helium balloon and let it go, and it goes up. Okay, versus the spoon going down. Okay, yeah. Wouldn't relative density, talking about what? Physical object? No, he's talking about a concept known as density, which he has no idea what it means. Be an explanation that more real world than your ropes. That's more real world than your ropes. Density, you have not explained why the spoon falls to the floor by saying density or heavier. You have to explain density. You have to explain heavier. Okay, this is the issue. And so here, let me give you some homework that you can work on so you know what you have to answer instead of using these words heavier and density. This is what you got to answer. Okay, you have a bowling ball. And the farther it is from the earth, the less it weighs. Okay, and the closer it is to the earth, the more it weighs. You can determine that with a scale. You put it on the scale, and you'll find out that the one farther out weighs less than the one closest by. If you could go to Mount Everest, you could weigh something there and something at the bottom of Mount Everest or at sea level, and you'll find out that it weighs less at the tip of Mount Everest. That's how simple it is. Now, let's remove the scale momentarily, and we say the following. What is it that compels the bowling ball to fall to earth? Why doesn't that bowling ball continue flying out into space? Why does it fall to earth? That's what you got to explain. You can't say it's heavier. You can't say it's density. You have to explain what is in physical contact with the bowling ball. If you say that there is nothing there, you are explaining gravity with black magic. That's the issue. Hopefully there's a physical object that you cannot see or touch that mediates gravity. That's the issue before us. Okay, so all these flat earthers, they don't even know what the question is. They don't even know what they have to answer. So they say, well, it's heavier, it's denser. What have you said? You haven't said anything. Okay. Okay, another visitor, I think lady, says the following, talking again about flat earthers here. Oh, Mr. Foolish Man, referring to me, okay? Please explain why Russia is supposed to be 55 miles from the edge of Alaska and yet takes 29 hours to get there. It took her 29 hours to get from Alaska to Russia. Poor lady. Oh, right, if you lay the map flat, Russia's still the way over to the right. Are these people for real? It took her 29 hours to get from Alaska to Russia. That's just unbelievable. I don't know, maybe she took the Pony Express through the ocean. I have no idea. Poor lady. I think she should sue the corporation that she hired to make that trip. Maybe she should, sue them, get her money back. My God. Okay, another fellow. Flat earther says, knowledge is not equal to truth, okay? Globe belief requires a suspension of disbelief similar to that when we watch a movie. Gravity is just a math concept, okay, that has never been demonstrated to be a real force. Poor fellow. I mean, I just demonstrated showing that, the spoon falls to the floor, okay? But he says it's never been demonstrated other than a mathematical concept. It has not ever been demonstrated to hold air under pressure. And so Earth is demonstrably a level plane. We have woken up, Bill. Yeah, these people believed in pressure, and they talk about pressure at all moments in time. Why? Because they are talking about particles. And so they say, well, gases tend to fly apart. And if you remove the glass, the water in the glass immediately falls, spreads out. So they say you need a container because they're thinking of discrete particles. That's the issue. And we're saying in this side, we're talking about something different. We're saying that all atoms are physically connected to the earth, including every atom in your body. The reason you jump and fall back to earth is you're connected to earth, physically connected. That's different than what mathematical physics says. That's different than what quantum mechanics, general relativity, and string theory say. In those religions, they have discrete particles. And so if you're thinking about discrete particles, you say, well, unless you contain them, they fly apart. That's not the case in this channel. In this channel, we're talking about something else. We're saying that all atoms are connected to the earth, physically connected to the earth. That's why you don't need a container. And there you see an example. You see the water, which is the dark blue, and you see the air, which is the lighter blue that you see there, different shades of it, okay? We're going to take one atom of the air, just one atom, okay? And if it's connected to every atom on Earth, you can see why it doesn't fly outside the Earth and why you don't need a container to keep it there. It's there because it's connected to the Earth. Do you understand, or do you have mental problems? It's connected, physically connected to the Earth. And all atoms that you can see in the air that belong to the air are all connected to the Earth. So is every atom of that blue water, the one that forms the oceans of Earth. They're all connected to every atom on Earth. So if you have one atom on one side of the Earth, for example, one of those air atoms, and it's connected to the atoms on the other side of the Earth, you can see why it doesn't fly away. It's physically attached to the Earth. Okay, just like you are attached to the Earth. Okay? Now you say, well, I can't see it, I can't touch it. Yes, it's invisible and intangible. And people say, well, hold it, you're talking about an invisible and intangible. How do you know it's there? How do you believe it's there? We don't believe, we make an assumption. We say, let us assume that all atoms are physically interconnected. And one of the issues there is that they question the rope model. They say, well, I don't see the ropes, I can't touch the ropes, I can't run an experiment to prove their existence. But then quantum talks about discrete particles, two particles being at the same place at the same time, or one particle being at two places at once. They never question that. I mean, have you ever questioned quantum mechanics? Okay? When they say that light consists of discrete particles, have you ever seen those particles? Have you seen the photons? Have you touched the photons? Do you know for a fact that that light is made of photons, discrete little balls? And the answer is no. Is gravity, the mediator of gravity, made of discrete balls? Okay? So nobody questions it. They only question when you bring the rope and they say, well, how come I can't see or touch it? Well, you can't see or touch the balls, the gravitons with which they explain gravity. Have you ever questioned that? Why do you think quantum mechanics cannot explain gravity? Because you cannot explain pull with little discrete stones. Assuming they were stones, which they're not, but that's the second issue. But nobody questions that. They say, I can't see or touch the stones, but nobody questions that. But as soon as you say the rope, an elongated object, they say, well, why can't I see and touch this elongated object? Well, why can't you see and touch the particles that are flowing between those two objects? Have you ever thought about that, about the question? Okay, and this is the issue. Okay, and final issue here with the flat earther. Earth was a star comet is based on a theory called stellar metamorphosis by Jeffrey Walensky. Absolutely not. Okay, Walensky did not come up with this theory. He usurped it as his. Okay, Alexander Oparin, he was a Soviet biologist, was the originator of the theory that the Earth was once a star. Walensky is taking credit for something he did not develop or originate. You will find more information about this issue in the video titled Earth is Older Than the Sun. It's a video that I have out there, so you can look at Big 80, okay? And you'll find the Earth is Older Than the Sun, okay? Where I explain that first I gave credit to Walensky because I thought he was the originator. When I did a little research after I made the video, I realized that he was not the originator. I did not remove the video because the video talks about two things, and that's why all celestial objects are spherical instead of flat, as flat earthers say, and why they are differentiated, why there are layers. Okay, and so what we're tearing to pieces is the nebular hypothesis, which is used for the sun. It's okay, but when they talk about the planets, no, the nebular hypothesis does not explain the origin of the planets and the moons of some of these planets, like Jupiter's moons and Saturn's moons. And so that's what the video is about. The fact that I originally gave credit to Walensky, I corrected that in the description of the video, and there's no reason for me to take it out. You reach your own conclusions. Okay, so. But Walensky's not the originator, and in fact, he's got only irrational explanations for everything, so it doesn't matter anyways what Walensky comes up with.